Going live, going live. You might be live. No, I never know until I know. I guess I didn't do a reset video for autumn or September or October. It looks like I did a late summer one. And then instead I did videos 245 and 246 more about the kind of preppy look and the two style questions, which had an autumn fashion capsule included in 246 that nobody really watched either of those videos. So there's that. Back to school casual autumn preppy style was 245. And then previous to, or right after that rather, video 258 was about the no buy year recap, so I'm not buying much for the new season at all or anything like that. And I have stuff from previous videos that I could do another show and tell right now, but I decided not to bother because it takes so long to get all that stuff together and then put it all back rather than just continuing to do the weekly photos like I've been doing. So if you look in the community menu, if you're seeing this for the first time or you haven't seen that, then you don't know. I have a whole bunch of, including this thumbnail, pictures that I've taken over the course of the past year or a little bit more of book ideas, things, color coordinations, combinations, that kind of thing. I've already been doing that, so I will continue to do that because some of you are having a polar vortex snow freak early season storm right now, but here it's same as you had 3 days ago where it's still 80 degrees. So I'm not wearing a lot of Christmassy stuff, although I did get out a red shirt, and this one does have the flap pockets but the no collar neck line. But it's just a generic shirt that I can wear, even if it looks a little bit like pajamas on the camera now that I'm seeing it without a cowboy vest or something else to kind of set it off. But it is just a regular casual shirt that has a banded collar instead of a point collar or a button-down collar or a stand-up Mandarin collar. Not to go on and on, but anyway, so I decided to do this video now, well, not just because I forgot to do them for the last 2 months or did a kind of different version of them in the last 2 months, because I had done the Dice of Fate roulette game and got mountain aesthetic strictly for a month, and that will partly continue on into the next month. But in about 5 weeks-ish, excuse me, I'm just itching my nose. In about 5 weeks-ish, we'll be in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mid-December. And mid-December might even be a little bit late to change up everything and all of a sudden be all holiday, Christmas, festive, blah, blah, blah. And I've made videos about that plenty already. I'm sure last year I did a fairly extravagant show and tell and then ended up wearing some of that stuff. But last year was even warmer than this year. Last year we were still in the 90s or the hundreds at this point up until about Thanksgiving. And then we finally started getting a little bit of a cool down. This year we're having a little bit more normal-ish. Still mostly above average, but a little more normal-ish temperatures. So I've been wearing a little bit more long sleeves in the evening, but I haven't always been comfortable wearing it, or other times, you're cold and sweating at the same time, as I was saying in yesterday's video kind of thing. But so we're butting up against the holiday season already, even though Veterans Day hasn't actually happened yet, and Thanksgiving hasn't happened yet, obviously. Thanksgiving, of course, having no real specific style associated with it. Most people dress up a little bit more than usual to have the dinner with the family. Here in, if you're not watching in the United States, you don't have Thanksgiving, then you don't care. But it is a big night to do that, but it's also a night when a lot of families watch American football games and dress in their football outfits or whatever instead. So not quite preppy necessarily, more tailgate party for some of you. I don't know. Or I think basketball might be another one that's kind of big. Baseball having wrapped up. Anyway, I was watching another video though that I wanted to, I don't know if I should call this part one and have a part two like I sometimes do. Part one, we're in part one, we're still in part one. Which will be kind of a rebuttal video that, again, I think would be a little more useful than just a show and tell. Sorry, it's not on my screen. But I never know because, again, I know full well that most of you aren't going to ever see this because most of you only tune in for my boot content. And so speaking on that, even though we're still in part one, or well, it's, I guess, part one. Part one, the 12-week boot challenge that I set up will technically wrap up before Christmas, but I don't know the exact number of the weeks, and I haven't worn boots every single week, as I've explained. But that's another thing where I've been posting weekly images in the community menu for those of you who are keeping up. The last 2 weeks or whatever, it was only like basically 2 pairs of boots over and over and over mostly, but not really expanding and wearing as many of those other 12 pairs. And then I halfway through ish or whatever, I kind of gave up on a bunch of those pairs because I realized, well, one, again, with the warm weather, and two, with just what I'm doing, I wasn't going to end up wearing a bunch of those pairs. And I decided to make a substitution list of different pairs. And that substitution list is pretty accurate, I'd say, unless I don't even remember what, I have it written down here, but I don't remember exactly which ones were which. Yeah, so. But the Keen, I said I wasn't going to wear them again, and then I did wear them on Sunday a week ago. I think. Was it Sunday? Maybe it was Thursday. Actually, maybe it was both. I forget. But yeah, the cowboy boots, I won't likely be wearing any cowboy boots anytime soon. Some of the Keen ones, the reason I put them aside was because they had the waterproof, but now I have a bunch of other waterproof ones too. So I kind of went back and forth and flip-flopped on that one and decided to just wear them just to wear them. Whereas mostly it's been the Wolverine 1000 Mile and the Wolverine Loader wedge sole work boots. And the one pair of the Rose Anvil Drifters I wore because it was a Halloween costume. So I just sucked it up and did 6 hours or whatever in those one evening. And I might wear those again some more to break them in a little bit more. And I might wear the Packer boots that I ended up wearing them like the one morning and then not really wearing them since. But 10-inch boots, like I said, right now in this weather is not really necessary if I'm not doing something that requires tall boots. What's this? Ball cap, blazer, khaki, Oxford. I don't remember. Gray sweatshirt. Oh, this was from the capsule wardrobe thing. Yeah, already. So if you want to go back and watch episode 245, I think that's what this list is from. So yeah, no real reason to restate all of that. And then, of course, I had done cowboy hats. I had talked about that and made the list. And Keene, Kansas City, Bean Ranger mock, which, of course, I put the Bean Ranger mocks in the box now and put that away. Mocktober being officially over. It's Mockvember now for those of you who are still celebrating. Fine. Like I said, I am wearing the one pair of mock toe boots, more than any of the others just to use them. Thursday Captain, no, I have not been wearing those. I shelved the JK boots. I shelved the Ariat boots. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this list was the other list. Okay, sorry for being redundant there, but I'm just jogging my own memory. Anyway, so to get on to, I don't know, part B of part 1, I guess, that being all part A preamble or something. So I expanded with the benefit of the dice of fate, and now I get to go back and wear nautical work wear or nautical preppy wear if I want to, that I shelved after wearing like exclusively for a month in September-ish. And then I am also adventuring back into a bit of the military stuff that got neglected that I said was, allowed, but then I didn't really end up using most of it because it was too hot and I wasn't going hiking as much as I wanted to and that kind of thing. And so again, not necessarily true uniform pieces, but stuff like cargo pants, which I've been wearing anyway because it's mountain-y and that sort of thing, but also the pilot aesthetic that I shelved for the last couple weeks. But I've still been using my leather jacket once in a while, not the good one, but the cheap one. But if I want to wear some of the nicer leather jackets, we might have some weather where I can do that. But for the most part, just once in a while, I wear it in the morning or the evening and it gets a bit sweaty. So it's still not quite leather jacket weather, just if it's windy. And I do have that canvas bomber jacket that I wore the other day. And what else? Preppy, again, weather permitting, the country gentleman thing, the Irish, Scottish heritage look. I doubt it will get cold enough to wear a chunky wool sweater, but they're on standby if I need one. And of course, I have other lighter weight, more casual cotton sweaters and things. Well, I shouldn't say more casual, just lighter weight. They're all pretty casual. Actually, technically, I mean, a nice sweater vest with an argyle, some people would consider more formal or more nerdy, I guess, but whatever. And I do have a couple of wool ones, but again, I doubt I will need any wool sweaters prior to the holiday. The big holiday, not the Thanksgiving holiday, but the Thanksgiving holiday last year was pretty warm. This year, we'll see what we get. Yeah, I know I'm just rambling, whatever. So anyway, so let me get to the rebuttal part of this video. I know for those of you who are patient and stuck around, this is an actual thing. Part two. So this other channel that he doesn't post as often as I do, and I don't watch all of the videos. Because some of them I know we're just going to argue when I leave comments if he even responds at all. Another one of those guys who really loves denim, and I'm just really mostly over denim. I wore denim yesterday, but it wasn't like very heavyweight denim or anything. It was just a pair of shorts, basically. So he had made a video, though, about the 5 levels of style, I don't know, awareness or activity or whatever for men. And so I didn't want to totally rebut everything about it. And I'll list the categories that he listed. And like I said, I've made similar videos kind of to this already. Don't ask me the numbers. I don't know. But the first category is just not getting arrested, looking put together enough to leave the house and not, your pajamas or whatever. Level 2 was give a shite, you actually, you're doing a one above that because you're trying to make a shirt that goes with a pants more than just a shirt and a pants, I guess. Or watching a video like his or like this one, wondering what you've been doing wrong all these years finally, I guess, maybe, or in many cases, because they had a talk with you at work that you're looking too bummy or too casual for the environment. Well, what do you mean office casual? And this shirt barely being office casual, this shirt being more recreational, even though, you know, if you added a collar, you could still maybe get away with the flat pockets in an office. It does have sleeves and buttons, so it's more of a shirt than a polo shirt. If polo shirts aren't dressy enough for what they're saying, you might get away with this, but you can't wear this with any kind of necktie unless you know, did some tweaking and tinkering so you could add an actual collar like in the old days. This banded collar style stuff nowadays does not come with holes, buttonholes where you can put jewelry to add, you know, tab collars and all that kind of thing. But there are tutorials on how to do that. If you're really interested, you'd have to remove, I think, typically this button and make a hole to mirror this hole so you can put the jewelry through instead of the buttonhole. And then you would need another buttonhole on the back of the neck. In case you didn't understand. Well, because he mentions Peaky Blinders in his video, so already if you're watching Peaky Blinders, you might want detachable collars, and this kind of shirt is the kind of shirt that you would be able to get without having to make your own shirts, but the button would still be incorrect. So then number 3, this was the part where he called it finding your tribe and often being insufferable, but he had said, he had called it, like, he had said something about style journey. I'll get into that. Then number 4 was get your groove on, and number 5 was true enlightenment. But the people he chose for true enlightenment were kind of celebrities or rich guys or whatever who can kind of afford whatever they want, but still buy casual stuff that isn't, you know, 80s power suit kind of stuff. So I don't know that that completely is a proper category. No, I'm not in the same category as Brad Pitt, but by default, do I sometimes, you know, still dress better than Brad Pitt? Maybe, but of course he's the hunky guy. He's, you know, got better abs or physique or something. So of course he's going to look better in most of his clothes, but doesn't mean he's always wearing elevated fashion items or whatever. So I had put, you know, do I sense a personal dig at point number 3? Because yes, Practical Menswear Style Journey is in the title of every single one of my videos, but not because I believe that I'm stuck at part 3 of finding my tribe. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. I put those keywords intentionally to try and attract those people who are trying to go from, you know, level 1 to level 2 or level 2 to level 3 to watching these videos. And again, I've mostly only attracted people who want to see boot content. So whatever, but it's definitely not because I think that I'm stuck in there. I'm clearly, I can assume that I am above that ranking somewhere, you know, much of the time. Again, I consider myself a level 4 or even level 5 in terms of knowledge, even if not application. I don't have a closet full of Armani suits and all that kind of thing. I'm not interested in that kind of thing. And I, again, weather permitting, I dress nicer than most of the people around. But if it's 80 degrees, I am definitely not wearing a tweed jacket and an Argyle sweater. Unless I know I'm going to be in an air-conditioned environment where I'm going to be cold, and then maybe I'll take it along or something. But so going on about item number 3, finding your tribe. I never really actually had any tribe, by the way. That which was about the least interesting thing for me, you know, getting into fashion as a hobby or whatever. And you know, and even years ago when I was wearing intentional work stuff, you know, mostly for going out in the evenings, you know, instead of nicer outfits, most of the people I was around weren't so much into elevated looks at the time. really at all either, but they were doing an alternate version of casual wear from what I was doing. So I definitely stood out, as I've talked about this in the videos before, where I didn't look hipster enough, but some girl, clearly a kind of mall girl in her little cocktail outfit was like, "What are you supposed to be?" And she didn't even know the word like lumberjack or logger or anything. She couldn't process what a flannel shirt meant. That being, like I'm saying, about mountain style. I'm not approaching, obviously I don't have a big ZZ Top beard. I'm not, doing it, I'm not wearing a catcher in the rye hat, hunting flaps on the ears and all that. So when I say mountain, it's kind of a loose category of outdoorsy, but not gorp core. So he talks about that in the next part. So he said, if you're finding your tribe, a lot of it, if you're trying to look exactly like Peaky Blinders and only do that, like there was another guy's video I was arguing with last week where he had discovered Peaky Blinders and wanted to tell me I was doing something wrong. I should really reread that argument in a second. But almost cosplay and the core gorp work. See, when I was doing the work thing, I wasn't doing it to the letter the way that they're necessarily doing it, but I was wearing some of those elements. But when I was doing it, these phrases did not exist yet. There was no such thing as work core or gorp core at the time. Let me see if his quote is here. What did he say? He said something about that was your takeaway. See if I can find. Yeah. That's what you gathered from this video. You could literally wear a gray trousers and navy blazer and be better dressed than someone in a blue suit, especially if the occasion is not a formal one. If you're invited somewhere nice and grab your 501s, then it's a different problem entirely. I'm struggling to see how you got from point A to B with your comment. Maybe you logged on, but your brain logged off. I love when they insult their viewers, as if I'm going to watch their videos again much, unless I'm just going to leave more snarky comments than they leave. Or you thought you're being a comedian, but F me, you just ended up sounding stupid, which of course I didn't sound stupid at all. He just didn't want to hear what I had to say. So let's go down this rabbit hole for a minute. I'd rather be overdressed in the blue suit than trying to believe 501 are proper pants for much apart from the rodeo. All the hips, I'm rebutting his video more than I'm rebutting the other one. All the hipsters think sneakers should be worn with suits now. Cosplaying an adult is such a drag, because he was saying what a drag it was to have to dress a certain way for the office or something instead of his Irish hats and his tweed jacket or from the thrift store or whatever. Nobody wears blue blazers to weddings, etc. Tweed is too warm for summer in most places, like mine. I almost never wear a white crisp shirt, but some years I don't get as much use out of stuff like denim or corduroy either, and they're definitely not what I would wear with a sport jacket ever, which I've said on this channel many times. There's tons of casual button collar options and window panes and checks and such. And for a capsule wardrobe, you need more like 10 shirts than 3, because I've said that over and over too. Nobody with a real job can wear only 3 pair of pants all week, and then the jeans. So I'm going back to 258. Go back to video 258 that I just made before I saw his video. Nobody with a real job can wear only 3 pair of pants all week, and then the jeans definitely eliminates a whole pair for any proper office. You need more like 8 pairs of pants minimum. The gray flannel ones the gray pair must not need automatically be flannel wool, but also may be navy instead, and not just only khaki, etc. Most people don't dry clean all the stuff, which means that if you only have 2 pairs of work pants and 3 shirts, you will have to do laundry twice as often or more, which will make the clothes look more worn and distressed twice as fast, or 3 times as fast. 3 sport jackets that don't look like they came from a thrift store might be a proper start for your curated wardrobe. Let's see. So then he had sent me that snarky response about how dumb I am. So I wrote him, 3 long comments. Well, the first one's the longest. I can't recall the last time I wore a pair of blue 501 with anything but Western shirts and riding boots and a felt brim hat. I don't have my felt brim hat in here right now. I had them pretty much all my life and keep them in a drawer most of the time for the past 30 years or so already, more like 20. But gray wool trousers is less useful in my rotation pretty much. Got some blue and brown tweed ones a couple years ago that I might use this winter a bit. We'll see how it goes. Again, those would be part of that Irish, Scottish, rustic farm wear thing. I could slot those in this month if I get the right weather. Got the blue ones for use with a sport jacket to look more like a regular blue suit, in fact. I sound less stupid to people whom don't just regurgitate stuff I've heard in other videos already about the men's capsule thing, which does not work the same as clothes for gals, women, which is a problem they never address, as I've mentioned over and over and over again, because men's clothes and women's clothes are not the same, and the capsule thing doesn't work quite the same. Again, go back and watch any of those videos in that playlist of the lifestyle strategies. When I was in college, all the guys were wearing the baggy clothes, and the next was all the overweight guys in the skinny jeans. I'm pretty sure they must all have to buy new stuff more often than I do to try and keep up with the latest fad, because, again, this is definitely not the buy stuff channel or the trendy fad channel. When it comes to the capsule wardrobe, they're always doing some stupid math that looks great on paper, like 38 combos from 12 items or whatever. It's more like 72 combinations or something. But then once you cross off all the ones that you could or would never wear, like those shoes with that shirt, or having to wear the same pants twice in a row to have that next combination that next day, but those pants are in the wash because you spilled coffee all over them or whatever. That eliminates 16 combinations right there, because those pants aren't available. So again, if one of them is blue jeans too, and one of them is khaki pants, so if you mess up your khaki pants, then you're going to have to go with your blue jeans, and your boss might have already talked to you about not wearing blue jeans. So now you're stuck wearing your gray flannel trousers. That's you need more than 3 pairs of pants. So yeah, you're going to realize all of a sudden, I need more stuff after all, even though, again, we want to be, maybe minimalists or get by with what we can. You can't just do math and say it's going to work for every situation. I don't get much use out of the wool overcoat here either, but Florida and Texas can be even worse with their humidity. But also the ones who think they can wear the same clothes for 12 years, as I've talked about in the cost per wear videos, better hope they never gain more than 3 pounds per decade and such. Because even with my weight fluctuation, I already had to put holes in one of my belts to make it fit more. Rather than buying another belt, I just put a hole because my belt is actually too big right now. That I have that problem with 2 belts. One of them I was able to switch the buckle and get a little more life out of it that way, because the buckle it came with I didn't really like, so I put a fancier buckle with it, and now I can't wear it with the fancier buckle because it extends too far and the belt's just all sloppy and won't stay where it's supposed to. But I didn't want to put holes in all of my belts. We'll get cross that bridge when we get to it. So, okay, sorry. So that was a long tangent, but getting back to the other guy's video that I watched today, which ties in though with what I was just saying, I still pretty much ignore all trends unless I'm lucky enough that something I like comes into vogue fashion all of a sudden, and then stuff becomes more accessibly available, but then can usually still cost more than I want to spend, or is tailored in such a way that I can't wear it, like this skinny sleeves or the trim. LL Bean I complain about constantly because they've made almost everything too tapered at the waist, and I need a classic fit, and I'm not even that big around in the waist. Like I said, I've lost at least an inch or something. but I still can't fit in a skinny fit shirt, which, good on you if you still can. But again, don't plan on that shirt necessarily being the one you wear all through your 30s and almost possibly never into your 40s. Some of you will stay in better shape than others, obviously. Or in some cases, I could afford a $200 pair of pants, if I wanted to justify it, like it's a special one and I'm only going to get. But usually, I've already found some way cheaper alternative for, a third of the price, and I've bought 5 of them already. So I've got, like I said, a whole bunch of those Orvis khakis, and those are even a little bit heavy and warm for here, but they're a little more well-rounded than the fatigue pants that cost more, and they're the sateen and all that. And the reason I've said this before many times too, the reason I used to get those sateen fatigue pants when I was young is because they were $10 a pair. It wasn't because they were some fashion thing. We wanted to dress like the guys from MASH. But then when I would go hiking and stuff, well, they would work fine for my Boy Scout shirt because they were similar to the Boy Scout pants, except without having the side cargo pockets. But they didn't have the lighter weight ripstop material like the jungle fatigues. So I really wanted the jungle fatigues most of the time because of the warmer weather. I didn't really like wearing the sateen ones as much. Like I said, when it was Boy Scouts, it was kind of like, well, they look more Boy Scouty than the jungle utilities, the BDUs actually. So I never really wore the full cargo pocket BDUs too much. I think I might have had one pair of camo ones but they were the twill, not the ripstop. And I think they let me get away with that on camping trips once in a while. But most of the time they would say, this isn't the Army, that doesn't look uniform. The uniform is green. But most of the guys in my troop didn't wear the green pants at all. Only Jack had the green scout pants. Everybody else wore Levi's jeans. Pretty much. It was Levi's or Rustlers, I think. I don't remember anybody really having Wranglers yet in those days, or Lee. It was mostly Levi's. So then you talked about back to the workwear thing, the uniformity. I was kind of like thinking, who was ever really uniformity dressed? I mean, the greasers mostly, or maybe the preppies to an extent. I guess some would consider Western wear, like the cowboy look, kind of in this vein because the boots and the hats, and they don't even always wear hats. But prior to the whole black t-shirt, blue jean thing, which was the heavy metal look when I was in school, and kind of morphed now into a country look for some guys. Yet there was quite a bit more range on the range overall. Versus, I guess, business suits and other, a business suit versus a casual suit. A business suit is a work uniform, but if you wear it out in the evenings, you'll look stuffy, I guess. But if that's your tribe, then I guess you want to look stuffy compared to cowboys or greasers or whatever. There was a different video that I didn't have the comment here, and I left a comment. Shoot. But I was saying something along those lines there about how he was talking about Western wear kind of as a hipster thing, similar to the lumberjack thing a few years ago. And I was just pointing out that a lot of what the cowboys really wore isn't what they've been depicted as, and Hollywood has glamorized or whatever. But it's kind of a side note, not really super important. So, okay, I know that was a little bit rambling, and I didn't necessarily address every single one of their points. I mean, his ultimate point at the end was, regardless of all of these considerations, have fun with your style. Again, if it's not the stuff you're specifically wearing to your job, and even if it is stuff that you're wearing to your job to a degree, enjoy what you're wearing, have fun with your looks, that kind of thing. yeah, I don't have a total problem with that. I'm not the always dress stuffy all the time guy channel either, but I do say practical menswear for a reason, and I do say style journey for a reason, because they don't always mean the exact same thing, but they're not constantly at loggerheads, right? So as always, if that didn't bore the crap out of you for 30 minutes, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll try and refer you to the correct playlist, at least if I don't know the exact video, but the playlists are pretty straightforward. The lifestyle strategies, the style journey, boot central, Western cowboy style wear, Scottish Highland and Celtic attire stuff. I mean, I have other playlists too, but and then of course yesterday was the decor video that nobody will watch. And then of course the main one, the style journey. I still bunch everything into that, but I also have outerwear, nautical necessities, indie, which of course is borderline cosplay conversation, headwear, and that's pretty much all of them that would be relevant here. And I do put the no buy year thing in the lifestyle strategies and the cost per wear and all that, and the capsule wardrobe and all that. So after the holiday, I think it'll be a slightly different type of assessment video, because I think, again, I'll be talking more about this, whatever shift stylistically with the no buy year, because I think I'm likely extending the no buy year for at least several months, at least half the year if possible, just to save money for a change and try and recoup money for it, a bit. And because I didn't just do it for this channel, but I've talked about it before, how, I did buy a lot of things kind of to review on this channel, and I didn't keep all of them. Some of them didn't fit and I sent them back, and no regret. I made a video and this is what I thought about this pair of boots, and I don't need them in my collection anyway, And some of them I'll go back and maybe buy them later if I like them better than another brand that I'm already trying or whatever. See how it goes. But I'm definitely not going to be doing, weekly boot videos about new boots that I'm acquiring, because I'm not acquiring new boots. But I am still waiting on that one pair of boots from NYX that messed up my Mocktober because it didn't come yet. And I don't expect that here for it. I haven't even gotten a production email the whole first week of November yet, which means they would have to send me a production email this week at the latest for me to still get them in time for even Thanksgiving. So I'm starting to think that I'm not getting my NYX boots till December, people. So if you are a boot nerd who sat through this video, there's that. I'll put that in the comments, again, after this week is elapsed. We'll see what happens, if I hear from them or not. And, but again, that's kind of the boot end all boots in some regards, because that one, instead of rebuilding some of these other boots, I just got that one made. And so when I wear out those other ones, instead of getting them rebuilt, I might sell them off or donate them to a thrift store or something, and not pursue some of those expensive ideas that I thought would be interesting for this channel when there's already other channels that do that kind of content anyway. All up in the air, nothing decided, nothing firm. We'll see how it goes. And I definitely not going to do the 12 boot video this week, though, since I already made 2 videos. Next week, I'll surely have to do that. So for those of you who sat through this extra 10 minutes for no reason, I am definitely signing off now.